everyone, it's MaryAnn Camacho. I'm here with episode 8 of my new book, How Many Employees Does It Take to Change a Light Bulb? This is chapter 6. Today we're going to talk about those metrics that you need in order to keep your eye on the prize, right? I mean, you have to visualize what great looks like, and you got to put it on a dashboard. As leaders, we know that we need to set goals. We need to distribute them. We need to achieve them, surpass them. If you're a type A, you're going to crush them. We rely on goals to tell us where we're going and how we're performing as we get there. But what are they based on? Are your goals the obligatory sales growth, positive margin accretion, and/or positive cash flow? Well, at a macro level, yeah, those are a few really good signals of a healthy business, but they're also end game goals. In order to run a business, we need to understand the means to those ends. And even if you're not the one that's setting those companies' high-level goals, I have yet to meet a CEO who wasn't ecstatic about seeing their staff flow goals down and make them their own by embedding them in the operation. Whether I was setting or adapting strategic goals and executable priorities, I really like using Hoshin Conry methods. If you need help in setting your high-level strategic vision and or goals and flowing them down, that is a great tool to use to help you get there. Because when it's used properly, it really eliminates the waste that comes from inconsistent direction and poor communication throughout the company. Regardless of which tool you use, you got to start with establishing a vision. You got to identify the 3 to 5 key strategic multi-year objectives that you want to achieve. And then they're meticulously broken down into subtasks, which then become your annual goals. And those goals, they have to be descriptive, specific, actionable, and timely. So in those discipline reviews, you know what you're looking for. DSAT, D-S-A-T, descriptive, specific, actionable, and timely. That's a really good one to remember. I find that it's beneficial to identify those key moments of value creation and waste in your business processes. And sometimes value stream mapping can be used. Even simple process mapping can help. While it might be straightforward to count the widgets or the transactions that are bought and sold, identifying the trip hazards in your process or value stream map are far better subtasks to track because these can easily derail a business. When you identify metrics around them, it gives us the opportunity to act before it's too late. Whether you're in engineering, manufacturing, or a transactional processing business, waste is waste. Holding excess inventory, overproducing, overprocessing, unnecessary movement or transportation, waiting, rework, and defective products and services, those are all cash burners. It sounds easy, but identifying waste is actually the harder thing for folks to do. Take over processing. Your team may tell you, it's easier for my brain to focus on one process as opposed to the whole stream of work for each customer. Therefore, they do it all themselves. And you know what? It may seem like a really good point. It can be easier to focus on one task at a time. However, having one person manage the entire flow is risky. What if they're absent? What if they work a little slower or faster than others? What if they make a mistake? What if there are changes that are made after those products are produced? The risk to the business and customers when you do that over processing or non-single piece flow is very high. This is the point where hands-on visualization can really help you define your metrics and identify the waste. To help your team identify waste, I have a super quick 10-minute or less perfect in-person micro training session you can follow. So here's how it goes. You gather a few employees around a conference table, provide each of them with a blank piece of paper and a pencil. They might all know each other, but ask them to introduce themselves as an icebreaker. Part one of the training will go like this. You instruct them to write the first and last name of each person at the table onto that piece of paper in list form. They start with themselves, then they look at the person that they left, write their name down, and so on. And when they're done, they simply lay their piece of paper and pencil down. You set a timer and you say go. When the last pencil is down, stop the timer and note the duration out loud. Then begin the quality check. Ask each member to pass their page to their colleague on the left. Instruct them to check their own name on their neighbor's work for accuracy, finding out if their colleague had spelled their name right. It's a bit of a comedic exercise for sure, because big surprise, there will probably be errors, or at least ineligible handwriting. It'll probably take 30 to 90 seconds to complete this, and you can all have a good laugh. Here's part two. Give everyone another fresh piece of paper. This time, ask them to write only their first and last name on the top of the page. Then they pass the page to their neighbor. You set a timer and you say go. The next person writes their name, then passes the sheet, and so on until all sheets are done and the pencils are down. You stop the timer and you note the duration out loud. And then, of course, you do the quality control check, asking each of them to pass the page to their colleague. Amazingly, you will probably find that in part two, which is the single piece flow method, will finish quicker, upwards of 30% faster than the batch process you did in section one. There are probably no error. You may still have some ineligible handwriting, but guess what? Everyone knows how to spell their own name right. And the learning here is that even when somebody thinks they know it all, maybe they knew everybody around the table and they can do it faster than others, doing one part of the process well and then engaging your teammates to do the same for their part is going to yield better results. Understanding how your operation moves from one stage to another in developing products and services to your customers is the key to visualizing and choosing the right metrics with which you run your business. A great practice: follow the sales and service ticket from start to finish. It's as explicit as it sounds. You find the place in your business where the inception with a client starts, and then you track each step until that good or service is delivered. When you do this, get everyone to stand up for the entire process. It's going to move quicker for one. Not everyone is going to agree at first. Getting all the process steps posted on a wall helps people feel validated. And this is really a fundamental must-have in high-performing team dynamics. The trick is really not to allow anyone who is more vocal than the others to dominate the conversation, nor just let them talk. They have to write it down. And everyone plays here. Even the quiet ones who could not articulate the steps would help put them in order. I've seen process flow diagrams span over 100 feet with paper and handwritten notes all over them, because the next part of the exercise will be to identify where the most failures occur in the process. Some folks will want to continue mapping the future state process until they get it just right. Nope. You'll have to move forward with a good enough. You're going to have a better process than you did before. And you're probably making this transformation in the middle of having to do real work. You can't just stop the business. Moreover, delays are usually simply an anti-change. Don't let it happen. It's going to feel like overkill. This is hard. Nobody wants to slow down by documenting everything. You need to remain steadfast. They may have thought they knew it before, but I guarantee there's going to be much to learn. Be sure to measure the time, the quantity, and the defects of every unit or transaction through each step. That's going to help you with your metrics. You're going to simply measure them over time, but you're never going to lose focus on managing the total process and tying it back to your main goal. You and your team, by doing this, are going to feel so much more in control, and that feels great. Hopefully over time, your dashboard will be reduced to just a few metrics, automated and made available on demand. It's a good lesson though to accept that good enough is okay when it's being accompanied by iteration. So don't work towards perfection. Let me go back to understanding our main goals. Less is more. There's a simple process I return to when I'm thinking about what I need to measure, and that is the KISS, which is keep it simple, stupid. The 4 disciplines of execution and many other books emphatically tell us to determine our big rocks first. You gotta keep it to the vital few. Seriously, just 1 to 3 goals maximum. From there, you can flow down to key performance indicators of both leading and lagging types discovered from your process mapping. This data is going to drive your decisions and your actions, and stay focused on it. What gets measured gets done. If you're still unsure about your metrics or whether your team understands them, engage those end users in developing and revising the dashboard. It can make a big difference, and because it's part of the learning and the ownership process. It may take a few weeks or months or even a year to flush out the right set of key performance indicators for your dashboard. This is another reason why I like the model team method, because you can start small and focused, and you can iterate as you scale. As I talked about in the Good Habits episode, where and when you update the data, as well as where and when you review it, are important. You want to have a known date and time with repeatability when that data is updated and when it's published. You have to ensure that you have the necessary reviewers. For instance, your supervisors, your managers, your Kaizen promotion office, they should all have access to the data. And you got to give them a little bit of time to digest it. You don't want to be publishing data at 5 p.m. for an 8 a.m. review the next day. That's just not fair. Folks need time to digest and analyze. In fact, that's where they should be spending most of their time, is in analyzing the data and coming up with actions when it's not on track. With the help of business intelligence tools, you can integrate simple elements like trending, variation, to make it even easier for them. Whether you're in person or remote, the project's got to move forward. And the places where we can see all the projects at a glance, these aren't monuments. These need to be live work areas. This helps you with transparency. It provides authenticity to your teamwork. It is so much easier to prepare for reviews when you use visible place. I'm going to take a whiteboard over a PowerPoint presentation every day of the week. How do we know when our dashboards are working? When we see the end goals tracking in unison with the key performance indicators, with more than 12,000 interviews at companies in over 80 countries. If you look at the data, it's obvious that core management practices can't be taken for granted. Enormous differences in how well managers execute, even basic tasks like setting targets and tracking performance. And these differences matter. Better managed firms are at a long-term advantage. They're more productive, more profitable, and they grow at a faster pace. I guess dashboards do work, along with discipline operating mechanisms. If you're detail averse, I get you. I prefer working on the more strategic side. However, I know that if you want to deliver great results, inspect what you expect. This means setting a strategy, and that dashboard is going to be right there with your windshield and your ignition. So drive on.